now it's, are we gonna have cable or are kids going to Catholic?
It's almost close, except
It's true.
a little off on the number.
It is true. We cut the cable. You know what I mean? It's like, what's your priority? Kids have to know. They should know.
All right, good morning, One Church. It is good to see everybody on this ridiculously hot and humid Sunday morning. We're going to worship together, and I apologize ahead of time because Aaron is preaching this Sunday. So, but let's all stand together and worship and get the Sunday started right. Shake at the sound of Jesus' name. Lives made whole, hearts awake at the sound of Jesus' name. chains will fall, prisons break at the sound, Jesus' name. Lives made whole, at the sound, in Jesus' name. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is freedom. Come out of the dark, just as you are, into the fullness of His love. For the Spirit is here, there be freedom. Let there be freedom.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome you all to One Church. My name is Norm Hargraves. Hello. A few things, announcements / informatory items this morning. First things first is that we have the online person. So if you're here in person, welcome, by the way. If you're here online, welcome, by the way. But we have an online person. Say hello to her. Her name is Nikki. Hi, Nikki. And she will be posting an online connect card. So if you need any prayers or anything like that, go hook up with her, and then someone will make sure that they get back to you. Next, we have, if you're here in person, in the back, we have an orange information banner. It's to my right. So I'll be back there at the end of the service, so come back, say hello to me, and we'll talk about a thing called 1 in 5. It's a 5-minute overview of what we're about, why we do this thing called One Church, and just wait for you to get some information. So come back and say hello to me if that's the case. Next, offering. There's 2 ways to give, but before I get to that, let me just put it to you this way. We give back here for those of us that are members of One Church. So please, if you're not a member, then you're not obligated to give. If you want to give, give. If you don't, then you don't. But that's just those of us that call One Church our home. That's just a way for us to be able to give back what God has given us so that we can do this thing here that we call One Church. And the 2 ways to do that is there's an offering box in the back, a big blue box in the back, next to the door, to the left of the banner for information. And the other way to give is to give online. It's a safe and secure way. You'll see that there. It is onechurchpgh.com/giving. Also, we have communion. We do communion here, and it's a way for us to memorialize and remember what all Christ has done for us. Those are in the back, in between that information booth and the blue box. We have little prepackaged cups and wafers. If you are online, you can get something that represents it. Juice, crackers, actual, whatever, and then use that as a way of memorializing, commemorating. And then lastly, I want to tell you about an upcoming event that we're having. It is on July 21st. That's a Monday from 6 to 8 at Rival over in the Collier Town Square. It's the former Walnut Grill, yes. I had to think about that for a second. But that's called Pub Theology. And what that is it's a way for you to come, or people to come and gather, in a setting outside of our church walls. Some people, they don't want to come to church. I mean, that's their choice, up to them. But in those of us that do, sometimes we have questions, or we want to ask a question, but we're too afraid or intimidated or whatever we're going to call it. This is a nice way for people to get together, hang out, and get those questions, any questions, answered. We cover a wide variety of things that we talk about. So that, once again, is on Monday, July 21st from 6 to 8 at Rival over in Town Square.
our hands, you lift our eyes up. Where your love is found, there will be no fear. God, your kingdom come, your will be done here. On earth as in heaven, the Spirit of God pour out. Our hearts are wide open. Jesus, we need you now. Come, have your way in this place. Break our walls down. The Spirit of God pour out. On earth as in heaven. Jesus, we need you now. We bring our shame, you bring redemption. You turn our chains into our freedom. Where your love is found, there will be no fear. God, your kingdom come, your will be done here. On earth as in heaven, the Spirit of God pour out. Our hearts are wide open. Jesus, we need you now. Come, have your way in this place. Break our walls down. Spirit of God pour out. On earth as in heaven. Jesus, we need you now. In your presence there is peace. In your presence we are free. There's no better place to be. There's no better place to be. In your presence there is truth. In your presence mountains move. We forever run to you. We forever run to you. In your presence there is peace. In your presence we are free. There's no better place to be. There's no better place to be. In your presence there is truth. In your presence my before the Lion and the Lamb. And every knee will bow before him. So open up the gates, make way before the King of Kings. The God who comes to save is here to set the captives free. For who can stop the Lord Almighty? And our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power, fighting our battles, and every knee will bow before him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sins of the world. His blood breaks the chains, and every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb, and every knee will bow before him. And who can stop the Lord Almighty? And who can stop the Lord Almighty? And who can stop the Lord Almighty? 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 Who can stop the Lord? And our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power, fighting our battles, and every knee will bow before him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sins of the world. His blood breaks the chains, and every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb, and every knee will bow before him. You can be seated.
Awesome. Well, good morning, One Church. As you see, we got another week of our series. Fatal Distraction is actually our last week. I'd like to do an experiment with all of you guys. So what I'd like you to do is pull your phones out. The pastor is asking you to pull your phones out during church. Take advantage of it. And I want you to hold them in the air once you got them out. And don't pretend like you don't have your phones. And if you're online, don't pretend like you are excused from this. Do it. Even though I can't see you, God knows. All right, we all have got them out. Cool, you don't have to hold them up in the air anymore. Before we do it, though, I want you to listen to all of the instructions. Remember third grade? We did that? Okay, all of the instructions before we start. So what I want you to do, I can only describe it the way that I know it on my phone, okay? But what I want you to do is scroll up so that all of the apps that you have running, which you now see all of my apps, all of the apps that you have running are up. And I want you to slowly swipe them away one by one, okay? And I want you to count them as you go. And when you get to the end, I want you to have a number in your head. Everybody understand? Yes. Go. All right, we've got a few people still going. All right. I had somebody say, hold on, which is not a good sign. Hold. This next part's going to be interesting. Oh, boy. All right. All right. Now time for confession. All right. You guys are going to participate. This is going to be great. How many of you had 0 apps running on your phone? All right. I don't know if I believe Norm, but everybody, guys, pin a rose on their nose. They came prepared for church, or at least that's what we'll say. How many about less than 5? Less than 5 on your phone running. All right. Also, if you already raised your hand, you don't have to raise it twice. Stop taking more credit, Norm. All right. Less than 10. Less than 10. All right. More than 10, less than 20. Okay. More than 20. Less than 50? Less than 50. You said we have more than 50. Okay. Less than 80. Okay, less than 80. Okay. Well, here's the deal. I had a client one time when I was working in social work. They had their iPad. They brought it to me, and they were complaining that their iPad was running so slow, and they were really upset. And that is because they had over 200 apps downloaded on their phone, and whenever I pulled it up, I was like, something's got to be wrong. So I did exactly that. I started swiping them away. I didn't start counting right away, but I counted to over 100 as I was swiping them away. So if you're here, you're disqualified from this. But if you're online, you can write in the comments. You can email me later this week. My email's on the website. If you had over 100 apps running, I will send you a free book about not being distracted because you need it. Okay? So now that I've gotten you to all close out of your apps and focus on what we're doing, you didn't know you were being conned into paying attention during church, but now you are. The good news that I have for you who had a lot of apps running on your phone is that that doesn't actually hurt your device. It doesn't physically hurt your device. Your device is not going to be punished for doing that. But what it does do is it slows down your processing power. And it will drain your battery way faster than it would otherwise. Your phone will run slower, and you'll notice that. And this is the same for us. It's the same truth. The less that we have going on, the more that we are able to focus, the less our attention is spread to different things, the more that we are able to focus, the more efficient we are, the more effective that we are, and the more creative we can be with solutions as they come up. And this isn't just me telling you this. Last week I told you this is psychological research that shows this time and time and time and time again. But not only does it affect the work output that you have, the quality of the product, but it also affects the state that you are left in after having done the work itself. The energy that you have is sustained longer. It takes more for your patience to wear thin, and you have the ability to roll with the punches. Whenever things come your way, you have the ability to adjust and adapt. You can be creative that way. And last week, we began talking about these distractions, and we broke the word down into its Latin roots. And distract, it is dis and trahere. And what these mean is dis is apart, to pull apart, and trahere, to draw or to drag, or literally what this means is to specifically take you away from the thing that you are trying to accomplish. Or in other words, what it does is it redirects our attention away from our intentions. Because we all intend to do something. We are trying to do something, right? But as distractions pop up, our attention is dragged away from it. And ultimately what this does is it undermines the vision that we have for our life. The vision, because as we put it last week, distractions prevent the main thing from staying the main thing. They prevent the vision you have from staying the vision you have because your eyes have to be directed elsewhere. And when distractions begin to take hold more and more in areas of your life, different areas, multiple areas, as they start to pop up, all of a sudden we feel like we're spinning our wheels. Like we can't make headway in life, that we can't grow in life, and we feel like we're stuck in a rut. And without vision, without the vision of the good work that our hearts are intended to do, then this vision begins to deteriorate. And it doesn't matter what area of your life this vision is in, whether it's professionally or relationally, whether it's personal, it doesn't matter. As we start to lose that vision, that goal will deteriorate. So the question is, how do we then identify and then proceed to remove these distractions from our lives? How do we point them out to say, this is what this is? We have a vision. We talked about this last week. We have a vision. We know there's a good work that is put in front of us to do. But as things pop up, how do we identify what the distractions are and remove them appropriately? And so last week, we began to look at the story of Nehemiah. And if you weren't here last week, I would suggest you guys go watch that sermon, not just because I gave that one too. I'm not just full of myself. These things build upon themselves. This series builds upon itself, okay? But I'm going to recap it for you really quick. Nehemiah serves the king in Persia as his cupbearer, and he has a very close relationship with this king. And this king had already sent several waves of Israelites back to Jerusalem from what would have been their Babylonian captivity. And Babylon had destroyed Jerusalem, so they go back on this restoration project. But as they report back years and years later, the restoration project is going horribly. It's going terribly wrong. They can't focus on their vision. They can't focus on what God has put on their hearts. And so Nehemiah hears this report, and his heart breaks for what is going on in his homeland, in the land of his ancestors. And we've talked about how this feeling that God has equipped him with, this vision that God has equipped him with, we call it a holy discontent, or a terrifying longing, a fear of the things that could be done that are now not being done, of the potential we see in the brokenness. This idea that you see the brokenness in the world, and you know that's not how God intended it to be. God didn't intend us to act that way. God did not intend for us to go about life this way. That there is a dissonance between God's image in you and the brokenness we see in the world. And that dissonance does not want to be resolved. And so God puts a holy discontent in your heart. And this holy discontent felt by Nehemiah drove him to action. It drove him to ask the king, send me back to Jerusalem so that I can repair the walls there. And I can begin to separate the outside cultures from the inside culture so that God's people can begin to thrive again, can begin to grow, and can begin to focus on what they are doing. And as we talked about this holy discontent, we broke it down into three different things. And the first of the main things here is we called it the problem. And this one's pretty obvious. The problem is the brokenness that we see in the world. And I apologize for my handwriting. If you can't see that, I already pre-drew it, so it's there. The problem that you see in the world, the brokenness, the thing that you look at and you go, that's not the way it's intended to be. That's part one of this holy discontent. Now, part two that we have is the potential that we see in the brokenness. I wasn't expecting it to go that far. Interesting. The potential. Seeing the brokenness and knowing that it could be better. Seeing the brokenness say, I know that's not how God intended it to be, so what can I do about it? Is there healing to be had there? Is there action to be taken there? The potential that we see in the problem to be healed. And then the last thing that we talked about is this passion. This passion to see resolution, this passion to do something. This passion to say, this isn't right, and I know this is not right, and I know something can be done, and I know that I personally can do something about it, that I don't want to sit idly and watch this take over the situation. And what we see is we have these three things, and then right in the middle here, what we see is solutions taking place. When we see these three things come together, and you feel a holy discontent in your life, you have a good work that has been put in front of you, because we know on the other side of holy discontent, on the other side of that passion for the brokenness, wanting to be healed, on the other side of that is a good work waiting to be done, and it's waiting to be done by you, because you are the one who's feeling this holy discontent. And Nehemiah feels this tension. He feels this dissonance in his life. But there were distractions that popped up in Nehemiah's story as well. We feel that way. We know distractions that pop up in our life, but that's not unique to us. And Nehemiah has to begin to addressing these distractions, and he has to address them in different ways. In fact, there's specifically three types of distractions that Nehemiah faces over the course of him rebuilding the wall for Jerusalem. And when we left off the story last week, Nehemiah was refusing to be distracted by the enemies who wanted to pull him away from the end of his work. The wall was almost complete, and they wanted to pull him away. They wanted to pull him aside and make sure, hey, you're not going to finish this. We need to talk to you. It's really important. And likely they were just plotting on taking him out then. But if that didn't work, and it didn't, he didn't go down. He didn't become distracted. Well, what I didn't tell you last week was that wasn't their only attempt. This group of enemies, this specific group of enemies, went out of their way to try again and again and again to pull Nehemiah away from his work. They tried to blackmail him to the king who originally sent him. and say like, hey, king, guess what? This dude that you sent here to rebuild the walls, he's raising an army, and he's going to come after you. He's going to come get you. He is trying to lead a revolt. And Nehemiah goes, dude, don't try it. That's not going to work. And it didn't work because there wasn't a shred of truth. And the king trusted Nehemiah. So then they actually full on try to take him out by luring him into the temple. The temple, a place where Nehemiah should feel safe. And God keens him in on it. And Nehemiah doesn't go to the temple. And he doesn't die. It didn't work again because Nehemiah is not going to let these distractions build up. And Nehemiah becomes super driven then as he sees these things pop up. Super driven to accomplish the work that is set in front of him. But continuously, bizarre and weird things continue to pop up for Nehemiah. Bizarre and weird things continue to try to get in his way from accomplishing his work. And I bet you felt that way too, right? You're going through life. You're trying to do something. Maybe you're trying to get work done at home, whether that's cleaning the house or getting some work done at home. I don't know, right? You're trying to get something done. And the second you sit down to do something, everybody you have ever given your phone number to wants to text you and call you and talk about their feelings. And you didn't want to talk about feelings today. You wanted to get something done. But when you set out to focus on something, you set out to accomplish something, life happens. And these things that pop up, they begin to slowly but surely draw your attention in different directions from the thing that you are trying to accomplish. They pop up, drawing your attention away from your intentions. So much so that you start to lose focus on the goal itself. You can't see the goal itself. And so this first distraction, we're calling the distraction of fog. Fog, that's not a D, that's a 1. I should never write again, this is something. Fog, so much stuff popping up in your way that all of a sudden you can't see what is right in front of you. You can't see the goal that seemed so obvious at one point in time, but now you're just attaching to whatever it is, the first thing that pops up, because there's so many things going on, you feel like you're getting overwhelmed. And so that's what you start doing. And whatever pops up begins to take priority over your ultimate goal. Your calendar fills up with events and commitments and different things to do. And all of a sudden, the fog begins to make it hard to see the problem that you saw in the first place. The problem that was part of your holy discontent. The thing that you set out and said, that's not right. That is not right. And I know that God doesn't intend that for the world. You know, whether it's you personally and you wanted to grow in your marriage. You wanted to change the way that you were treating your husband, to treating your wife, because you knew that you had room to grow there. The way that you were raising your kids, to bring them up and to make good adults out of them, creative adults, impactful adults. And so you were dedicated on raising your kids a specific way, but then life happens, things pop up, and you get distracted. Or maybe there's something about yourself, something that you see in yourself that you don't like. And you want to improve that. But then things pop up and make it impossible to remember or see what you had intended on completing in that season of life. Nehemiah sees these same distractions, these bizarre and weird things popping up. Life happens for Nehemiah, but he does not let the fog get in the way of the goal that he sees, the vision that he sees for his life. In fact, it inspired him to see those things and so say, those things are not the most important thing. I know what the most important thing is because God has put that on my life. So what did I do? I continued the work with even greater determination. It emboldened his willpower as these things started to pop up, and he identified them for what they were, which was not the most important thing. And we need to find out where these distractions are coming from in our lives. We need to identify where their source is. And then as we identify what distractions in our life are fog, we need to ask ourselves, should I create distance between me and fill in the blank? Should I create distance between me and this environment that I continuously find myself in? Should I create distance between me, and this is a hard one, me and that person who I know isn't the best influence on me? And maybe it's not forever, maybe it's just for a season. But maybe you need to create that distance because we need to begin working on clearing out the fog in our life. Do you want to be more present with your kids, but you can't seem to put that phone down at dinner? I'm not calling you out. That's me. I am awfully guilty of that. It's something that I want to get better at, but I allow the distractions on my phone, the things that pop up on my phone, to begin to take priority over the fact that I know Judah and Micah are sitting right next to me. Do you struggle to leave work at work? And I'm not just talking about physically bringing it home. I'm talking about emotionally too. Do the things that happen throughout the course of the day, the conflicts that you have with other people, change the way that you treat your spouse, that you act around your spouse, that you talk to your spouse? Does it change the way that you go about your life? Are you now more angry? Are you now more impatient? Because what happens is distractions like that begin to fog us up, and they prevent us from prioritizing the fact that, and you know this, that I want my kids to know that they are important to me. But all of a sudden, that's not my focus. I want my wife or my husband to know that I will be present when they need me most, but that's no longer my focus. What fog does, and it's the most common type of distraction, it pops up, and it makes it really easy for us to brush away that it's not a problem, because this just feels like life in America. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got a million things going on at the same time, right? So this is just the way it is, but it's not supposed to be that way. We need to look at the fog and ask, is this a part of the main thing? Are these distractions, these things that are popping up, are they a part of the main thing, the thing that I am trying to accomplish? And if it's not part of the main thing, we need to politely dismiss it, even if it is just for a season. Dismiss it from our lives so that we can refocus on the thing that we are so intended on actually accomplishing. The holy discontent God has put in our lives. Now, the second type of distraction that Nehemiah sees, he experiences it right in the middle of his project. And we see this in chapter 5. It says, Nehemiah 5, starting right at the beginning, verse 1. Some of the men and their wives raised a cry of protest against their fellow Jews. They were saying, we have such large families, we need more food to survive. Others said, we have mortgaged our fields, our vineyards, our homes to get food during the famine. Others said, we have had to borrow money on our fields and our vineyards just to pay our taxes. We belong to the same family as those who are wealthy, and our children are just like their children. We're no different. Yet, because of our financial situation, because we are who we are, we must sell our children into slavery just to get enough money to live. The poor who are working on this wall with Nehemiah, this group of people, and it's many walks of life who have decided to partake in the rebuilding and the restoration of the wall. These people are having to take extreme measures to make ends meet because of the work they are putting in on the wall. And so they're protesting this. They're like, this is not okay. I can't continue to live like this. Now, part of this is because the wall isn't complete, because part of the slavery that they are selling themselves into is outside cultures coming in and trying to take advantage of the Israelite people who they know they need fiscal help. They know they need help to make ends meet. So they come in and they try to take advantage of them. But that's not really the issue here. This isn't people from outside of the wall taking advantage of them. This is from people inside of the wall, their own family members, the wealthy Jews who are going in and then saying, listen, I'm going to give you money, but I'm going to charge you an exorbitant interest rate on this. And this royally ticks off Nehemiah. I mean, this eviscerates his heart to see this. Because now, like, the priority, the pride in building this wall and sustaining his people is now gone. It's ripped out. See, so he calls a meeting because he knows he has to address this. He has to address this, and he has to address this right now. Because if he doesn't address this, it is going to throw off the entire vision. The vision that he has for the wall will be destroyed, and the wall along with it. So he calls this meeting, and at the meeting, I said to them, we are doing all we can to redeem our Jewish relatives who have had to sell themselves to pagan foreigners, but you are selling them back into slavery again. So how often do we have to redeem them? Did it once in Egypt. God pulled us out of there. Just in captivity to Babylon, and now God's pulled us out of there. And now we're back here. We're in restoration. And now we are having to sell ourselves back into that same cycle, back into that slavery. How many times do we have to do that? How hard do you have to make it on your own people to be able to accomplish the goal that we're trying to accomplish? Why are you making it harder on your brothers and sisters when you should be the ones in most support of them? And they had nothing to say in their defense. They realized they were wrong. They saw it, like it was laid out for them. And so Nehemiah just doesn't say, you're wrong, fix it. No, he says, you're wrong, okay? But there's a way to heal this. So he proposes a solution. He says, stop charging them interest. Duh. In fact, pay back all of the interest that they've already paid you. They borrowed money. They should have to pay back that money. But stop charging them extra. That's not investing in them. That's not helping them out. And guys, stop selling people into slavery. We don't need to continue this cycle over and over again. In fact, let's create a process for investing back into everybody having enough to survive. Because as long as everybody has enough to survive, as long as we begin to support each other, we can support each other in building this wall and beginning to fix the bigger issue. And everybody agreed to follow the plan. And the plan worked. And sometimes we get into situations, not exactly like this, but similar, where we have a goal, right? And then something big pops up. Something big, something that threatens the vision and its success, something that threatens the thing you are trying to do. And when we set out to do a good work, something will pop up to try to derail our good work. Something big, something that's trying to rip it out of our hands, right? And so what we need to do is we need to stop for the time being, take a break, look at it, and put out the fire. Right? We need to put out the fire. Because fires start small. Fires don't start big. Fires start small. But then bonfires turn into forest fires, and forest fires turn into county-wide, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't feel like you just can't put it out. It feels like you can't even contain the dang thing. They feel impossible. They feel too big to tackle. And what fires will do is they will begin to destroy the potential that you saw in the issue in the first place. You saw the brokenness, but you saw this can be healed. More can come of this. But as fires begin to pop up, all of a sudden you're like, well, maybe this solution isn't actually going to work. Maybe this possibility isn't actually going to work. And all of a sudden, resources begin to go away. You don't have money. You can't survive. Motivation and morale amongst the people that you are working with, the rapport that you have with those people, all begin to be ripped away, all begin to dwindle and shrink. They deteriorate, and the tires start to spin out. And containing the problem feels impossible because you didn't address it when it was small. So it began to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it was really a thing to tackle. Now, the other thing in Nehemiah's case that we need to remember is that the wall is a means to an end. The wall is great. The wall is a noble goal. We want to build this wall up, right? But it is a means to an end. If you're not building the wall just for the sake of having the wall, but they realize that if they do not separate the cultures from each other, that one is going to continue to take advantage of the other one. It's going to continue to stifle the other things that they are trying to do in the rebuilding of Jerusalem. But a wall doesn't help when the issues are coming from the inside. And so in this case, putting out this fire is a way of maintaining the principle of the good work that you are trying to do. To say, remember why we are doing what we are doing. Remember the purpose of what we're doing. Remember the potential that you originally saw. But what we like to do, because fires aren't fun to put out, people can get hurt when we start to put out fires. They can. What we like to do is we like to treat it like fog. Ignore it. Push it off to the side. Say, yeah, this is a distraction, but distractions aren't good, right? And all distractions are the same. So we push it off to the side, and we don't deal with it. And then because we're not dealing with it, because we're ignoring, we put up our blinders, we don't see it grow. And that often happens because we end up so focused, so centered in on making progress that we block out the things that become a much bigger issue. It's like you're driving in your car, and you start to hear a noise. You don't like to hear noises in your car, right? Because you know that if you hear a noise in the car, that probably means that there's something that's going on that's not supposed to go on. So you go, I'll get to it eventually, right? I'll get to it eventually. It's a tiny noise. We don't have to worry about that, right? And you get to it eventually because you realize I can invest money in that, or I'm trying to save up to take my family on a trip. A noble goal. Take your family on vacation, to get a break, to take them away. Completely noble goal, right? So instead of going and getting it checked out, what do? You start driving with headphones in. Side note, please don't drive with headphones in. Not just because your car could be, blowing up, but because it's just not safe. It's a pet peeve of mine. If you do that, just don't, okay? So 3 months go by. 3 months go by. And that noise has gotten worse. But you don't know because you're blasting Drake in your ears. I assume you all listen to Drake. You're blasting that in your ears, and so you don't hear the noise getting worse. But you know what you do hear? The bank account going up because you have finally saved enough money for that trip that you want to take your family on. So what do? You don't go get your car checked out. Instead, you get everybody packed up. Everybody gets their clothes and they get in the car, right? You guys are going for your weekend away to a campground or Gettysburg or anywhere but Ohio, okay? So you find out you're going to not Ohio. And as you're on your way to not Ohio, it happens. It happens. Pat's not happy. You're on your way there. You're on your way to your vacation, and it happens. Smoke starts coming out the engine. And you have to pull over because your car just shut off. And you open the hood, and you get to find out what that noise was. Man, aren't you excited when you find out that the noise was Keebler elves using your heat to create cookies in your engine? And they saw, oh God, we gotta fill our fudge cream with somewhere, right? We gotta put it somewhere. So they fill up your oil lines with fudge cream. And now all of a sudden, your car won't run, but it will make cookies. But that's not what you need. because you're on the highway. Or it was your serpentine belt. It was one of those two things. So your serpentine belt wears out, you can't move anywhere, and you've got a front row seat to it happening. Now, you got to get your car towed, and that weekend trip is canceled. Now you're making no progress on that goal. And not only are you out of the money for the repair, you're out of the money for the tow, you're out of the money already spent on the trip, and Keebler elves aren't real, so you don't even get cookies. Sorry if that just broke your heart there. Yeah, Keebler elves aren't real. But sometimes, guys, here's what we need to do. We need to stop the progress on what we're doing. We understand that our goal is noble, that our goal is a good thing. But we need to put out the small fires, because the small fires get big. And when they get big, even if it means slowing progress on the main thing, sometimes it can mean saving the end goal of the main thing. Sometimes we need to stop and do the not fun thing and put out the fire. Now, within all of this happening, for some reason, Nehemiah, I don't know how this could be, Nehemiah does not seem to be swayed or worried or anything about threats on his life. He's like, people are out to kill him. He knows people are out to kill him. And he's like, oh well, right? The other people who are working with him, not the same way. They like their life. I don't know. But they are very much affected by the threats that are coming about on their life. And at some point, it said that the enemies were plotting against them. All of them were like, we don't want this construction project going. We don't want it so bad. In fact, it says this. They all made plans. All of them made plans to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw us into confusion. They are all going to band together and they are going to come at us. And at the same time that these threats begin to make headway amongst the people building the wall, complaints begin to pop up amongst the workers. Worries, concerns. But they're not the worries and concerns that you might think. Here's what the workers say to Nehemiah. He said, the workers, look, we are getting tired. We are exhausted. Like, do you see all of the work that we have to do? Look at all of the rubble. You realize how destroyed this thing was? This thing was destroyed. Like Nehemiah doesn't know. We will never be able to rebuild the walls ourselves. Look, this job has become impossible. This job has become too much, Nehemiah. I don't know how you don't see this. But the thing is, this makes no sense to Nehemiah. None at all. Why? Because they had made so much progress up to that point. In fact, they were working on multiple parts of the wall every single day. And so they were making great headway. But then the truth sort of peeks out around the corner as they continue. So he goes, Nehemiah, not only is the task overwhelming, I don't know if you've heard this, but our enemies were saying, before they know what's happening, we will swoop down on them and kill them and end their work. There it is. There it is. The distraction of fear. And fear is something I think we are all too familiar with. Fear is something that we've all experienced in some capacity or another. What fear does a really, really, really good job of is excavating our creativity for excuse making. For the I don't want to do that. We've all had fear in some way, shape, or form prevent us from doing the thing that we wanted to do. Social pressure, preventing you from doing the thing that you know was the right thing to do. Or from telling someone the truth that you know they needed to hear. What fear does, it attacks us from the inside. But remember, even if it attacks us from the inside, the result is always outward action or outward inaction. And that is because fear has the ability, and a great ability, to paralyze your willpower. Fear has the ability to stifle your passion. As if you didn't see this coming. It has the ability to stifle your passion. You so desperately wanted to see something. You were pushed into action. You were excited. You were ready to go about that project. And all of a sudden, a doubt creeps into the back of your mind, right? A doubt sneaks in there, and all of a sudden, you're not so sure if that's a good idea. And the writer of Hebrews talks about how when we succumb to our fears, when we allow those to overtake us, we are unable to maintain the vision we had in our life. And for Christians, this can often be a lack of focus on who gave you the holy discontent in the first place. Who put the holy discontent in your heart? Who had your heart break for the brokenness in the world? Who was it? What image in you could not remove the dissonance between you and the brokenness that you saw? And Nehemiah knows who it was who put that in his heart. And so what does he do? He hears that they're worried. He hears that they're scared. He understands that. So he calls them together, right? And the nobles and the rest of the people and everybody. And he says to them, don't be afraid of the enemy. Thanks, Nehemiah. That'll work, right? Just don't. Just don't be afraid of them, right? Nehemiah goes, no. Don't be afraid of them. Here's what you do instead. Remember the Lord who is great and who is glorious. And remember why you're doing what you're doing. Fight for your brothers and your sons and your daughters and your wives, the people who are important to you. Fight for your homes. Because if this thing gets derailed, those things can go away too. You have a good work that you are trying to accomplish. But with that good work, guys, there are definitely going to be moments of doubt and fear. Fear of someone stifling the project. Fear of someone giving pushback or personal attack, saying that they don't like the way that you are. Doubts about being wrong about the end goal. It's like, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Is this really the solution? Fear of failure or fear of inadequacy, that I'm not good enough to complete the thing. I'm not good enough to do the work that God has put in front of me. But remember, the God who has put the work in front of you has overcome all of those fears already. He is an overcomer. And he has put that in you too, that image of God in you. See, what do you have more of? The fear of the situation or awe of God, the God that you worship? Fear of the situation, doubts about your ability, or worship of the God who put those things in you in the first place, the God who created you, the God who said, I want to break your heart for this because I know you can do something about this. See, distractions of fear can have us look outward at the things that are around us, but so often they distract us by making us look inward, by making us look at ourselves and say, I don't like me right now. And because I don't like the way that I am right now, I could not possibly be the one to accomplish this thing, this great thing. But you see, you saw the potential in the problem, and you wanted to do something about it. Guess what? God sees that in you. He sees the brokenness. He sees the incompleteness, and he came to die and resurrect to complete you. To say, look, yeah, you're probably not good enough to do the work. Guess what? I'm going to make you good enough. I'm going to fill in the gaps. I'm going to provide for you there. I see the potential in you to bring healing to the world, to be my hands and feet, and to be redemption. God sees that in you. But do you remember that? And I think it's easy for us to forget whenever the doubts and the fears creep in, that God has put that in front of us because he sees that we can do those things. So I'd ask, how many things in your life that you set out to accomplish, how many things that you set out to do just got smashed down, that got pushed out, that got ripped out of your hands? The outside forces completely prevented it from happening. Giant walls got put up, and you could not do anything about it. Now, how many of those things just fizzled out? How many of them fell through the cracks? How many of them got lost in the shuffle or got overtaken by a bigger issue that started small, but now it's bigger? How many eventually didn't feel like they were worth the effort? And all of a sudden, you're not excited about doing the thing anymore. It's not a cool new thing. Far more often, in these endeavors, the faltering is subtle. It's not a big thing. It's not a big life event coming in and sweeping you away and saying, you don't get to do that now. It's us giving into the distractions, allowing our attention to be divvied out into a lot of different directions. And why is that? It's because it is easier for the enemy to distract you than defeat you. It is easier for the enemy to distract you than defeat you. Because if God has put that work on your heart, and you become passionate about it, and you see the potential and the redemption in what is there, and you go for it, it is hard to take that away from you, but it's really easy to make you look a different direction, to take away your focus and vision rather than outright taking the good work away. Because the fact is, we talked about this ad nauseum last week, you cannot focus on multiple things at the same time well. We're just not good at it. If you think you're good at it, watch last week. We're not good at it. It's not me, that's science. And every distraction that we give space and credence to is focus removed on the vision that we have in our life, the vision, the thing that we are trying to accomplish. Now, my dad coached some of my fall ball teams when I was growing up. If you don't know this, I played baseball for a long time. And my dad coached some of my fall ball teams when I was much younger, and my dad would admit this. My dad was not the best technical coach out there, right? He wasn't a bad coach, but technically speaking, he did not know all of the special drills. He did not know all of the advanced techniques, all of the things that can make you see the ball out of the pitcher's hand faster, field a ground ball more consistently. He knew the fundamentals, but he didn't know all the advanced stuff. So he coaches fall ball because what my dad does know that he can do, and what he does really well, is invest in people. And so what does he do? He makes it a point to begin investing in these kids, and specifically investing in their approach towards the game and how they think about the game. And that's because my dad realized, like, yeah, I'm going to invest, and maybe they'll get better at the game, and that would be cool, right? If they get better at it, but at least they'll get an opportunity. But I'm more worried about better preparing them for life after the game. And if I can improve their approach to the game, they can apply that to other parts of their lives. And so when we would get frustrated about things, either errors that we committed, things that we did wrong, we can't hit the ball, we're not playing well, right? Or things out of our control, a bad call that we didn't like, or, I don't know, rainouts, right? What my dad would do is he would look at us in the eye and he would say, you wake up every single day with 100% to give. That's it. Not 110, not 120. You might think you can put in the extra effort, but no. No matter what, you end up with 100% to give every morning that you wake up. And every time you give a little bit of that away to those frustrations and the circumstances you can't change and the things that pop up that you're not a fan of, or the things that pop up that you are a fan of and try to drag you away, whatever it is that pops up, when you give a little bit away, that is a percentage that you will never get back. You can't. Once you give it away, it's gone. And it leaves you less than 100% to give to the thing you were trying to accomplish in the first place. So how much are you willing to give away? How much are you willing to give away to that ground ball that you missed? How much are you willing to give away to that swing and a miss and that strikeout that you had? How much are you willing to give away to the phone that keeps ringing during dinner time? How much are you willing to give away to the work that you're bringing home that distracts you from your children, that distract you from your wife? How much are you willing to give away to focusing on the things that you don't like about yourself, that you want to improve, that you know you can do something about? Is it 10%? 20%? 60%? 80%? Guys, I've seen calendars. They're really full. They're really busy. How much are you willing to give away to the distractions so that they become the focus, so that they become the main thing? And when we look at our lives and the goals that we are trying to achieve, can you identify where is the fog? What is a fire? And what am I fearful of? Where's the fog? What is a fire? And what am I fearful of? Because once we are able to do that, we are able to free ourselves up. So here's what I want us to do. I want us to go home, and I want us to write down whatever that main thing is. I want us to write down just one thing that we want to focus on in the next season of life. I don't care if it's a thing for a month or a week. That's fine. Start small. Write it down. Don't just think about it. Actually physically write it down, because once you write it down, it's not deniable. If you don't have pen and paper at home, Walmart exists. Go get some. Write it down, and then look at it and look at your life through that lens and say, what in my life is just a distraction? What in my life is not related to this thing? And some of those things may be mandatory. Some of those things may be necessary, and that's okay. But I'll bet you there are things that are not, that are distractions that are pulling you away, hobbies that you have that you want to do, places that you go that you know put you in a bad place, people that you talk to that you know are not the best influences, that you might need to create space between. Is it a distraction? And when we look at the distractions, what are they? Fog, fire, or fear? And how do I deal with that distraction? How do I move past that distraction? Because once we do that, we will have freed up so much of ourselves to keep the main thing the main thing. And that is so vital. And it helps us to get back to doing as much as we can and putting as much forward towards the good work that God has put in front of us. Because there is a good work on the other side of the brokenness that we see in the world, and it is a good work that you can do. Guys, we're going to take communion together. I'm going to ask you all to stand up. And I said last week, God knew the good work on the other side of the brokenness that he saw, and he came to do it. And I am thankful that we worship a God who was not willing to let the distractions that popped up get in his way of achieving that goal. And I think that we are capable of doing that as well, that God's put that in us. And so what I want us to do is celebrate the fact that God was able to do that. And God was able to do that for us and was willing to do that for us, knowing the cost that it was and knowing that it was a great cost. But I hope that knowing that that was a great cost will inspire us to continue to move and to do and to pursue the good work that God has put in front of us, knowing that we can be the hands and the feet. And if you don't know this, how much of a privilege that is to be the hands and the feet of Jesus here on this earth, being able to do the work. It's a huge privilege. And so I want to celebrate Jesus accomplishing his good work on the cross today together. So guys, I want you to please take out the wafer, and together we will take it in remembrance of the body that was broken for our sins. And I want you to drink the juice in remembrance of the blood that was spilled so that we may have salvation and redemption. Let's drink together. You guys pray with me, and then we're going to sing one more song together. God, I appreciate the passion that you have put in us to see the brokenness in the world and knowing that that is not the end game, that that is not how you intended it, and that the brokenness can be healed, and the brokenness should be healed, and that we can play a part in healing those things. So God, I ask that you put in us a sense of privilege to be able to do that work, and a sense of pride to say that I can do that work, but then also a sense of passion for seeing the problem and knowing that there is potential, and to making us want to be part of the solution and making us aware that sometimes we can be part of the problem. But that God, you have put in us the ability to do the good work here on earth and to extend the kingdom of God to real life, living, breathing, blood-filled human beings who are in desperate need of seeing you. So help us to be a window through which you are seen by the passion and the holy discontent that we feel, knowing that the brokenness is not the end game, but redemption. So make us part of that redemption today. Pray all of this in your name, the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. You guys lift your voice with us one more time.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. Live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is none beside you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are and lead me in your love and feed me in your love to those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. All right, everyone, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure worshiping with you all. Have a good week. Stay cool.